Imagine settling into your family home, a place meant to be your sanctuary. Suddenly, the furniture moves on its own, disembodied voices echo through the halls, and unseen forces terrorize your children. This isn't the plot of a horror movie. It's the real-life nightmare that befell the Hodgson family in Enfield, London, during the late 1970s. Over 18 harrowing months, their modest council house became the epicenter of one of the most documented and controversial paranormal cases in history. Skeptics and believers alike have debated the events, but the chilling accounts continue to captivate and terrify. This is the true story of the Enfield Poltergeist, a haunting that defied explanation and inspired countless investigations, documentaries, and films, including the Hollywood hit The Conjuring 2. In August 1977, single mother Peggy Hodgson lived with her 4 children, Margaret, 13, Janet, 11, Johnny, 10, and Billy, 7, at 284 Green Street, a council house in Enfield, North London. Their lives were ordinary, filled with the typical routines of a working-class family, but everything changed on the night of August 30th. It began with strange noises emanating from the girls' bedroom. Peggy initially dismissed them as typical sibling antics. However, when she entered the room, she found her daughters huddled in fear, claiming that their beds were shaking on their own. Moments later, a heavy chest of drawers slid across the floor, seemingly of its own accord. Peggy pushed it back, only to have it move again, resisting her efforts as if an invisible force were at play. Terrified, Peggy sought help from her neighbors, Vic and Peggy Nottingham. Vic, a burly construction worker, entered the house to investigate. He later reported hearing distinct knocking sounds coming from the walls and ceiling, yet could find no source. The phenomena continued, prompting Peggy to call the police. When Police Constable Carolyn Heaps arrived, she witnessed a chair wobble and slide across the floor without any apparent cause. In her official report, she stated that she could not determine the cause of the movement. Despite this unexplained occurrence, the police concluded that it was not a criminal matter and left the family to cope with the disturbances on their own. Desperate and with nowhere else to turn, Peggy contacted the Daily Mirror, hoping that media exposure might lead to assistance. Journalist Douglas Bentz and photographer Graham Morris visited the home. Initially skeptical, their doubts were shattered when toys and marbles began flying through the air, seemingly propelled by an unseen hand. Morris was even struck by a Lego brick, leaving a noticeable bruise. The Daily Mirror's coverage attracted the attention of the Society for Psychical Research (SPR). Maurice Grosse, an inventor and member of SPR, arrived at the Hodgson residence on September 5, 1977. He was soon joined by writer and investigator Guy Lyon Playfair. Together, they embarked on an extensive investigation that would span over a year. As Grosse and Playfair continued their investigation, the strange occurrences inside the Enfield home grew more intense and unnerving. They meticulously recorded over 2,000 separate incidents, each more puzzling than the last. Heavy furniture was reported to move on its own, sliding across rooms or toppling over without anyone touching it. Disturbing knocking sounds echoed through the walls, often in direct response to questions asked by the investigators, as though the house itself was communicating. Everyday objects like marbles and toys were thrown across the room with an unnatural force, sometimes narrowly missing those present. Janet, at the center of much of the activity, was reportedly seen levitating from her bed. Multiple photographs captured her mid-air, which believers saw as proof of something beyond explanation, though skeptics claimed she was simply jumping. Perhaps the most unsettling phenomenon was the emergence of a deep, gravelly voice that seemed to speak through Janet, even when her mouth was closed. The voice introduced itself as Bill, claiming to be a man who had once lived and died in the house. In one chilling instance, the voice stated, "Just before I died, I went blind, and then I had a hemorrhage, and I fell asleep, and I died in the chair in the corner downstairs."
I want you to tell me whether you remember what happened to you when you died. Just before you died and just after you died.
days before I died, I went blind. Then I had an hemorrhage, and I fell asleep, and I died in a chair in the corner downstairs.
This wasn't just eerie, it was verifiable. Investigators later discovered that a man named Bill Wilkins had, in fact, lived in the house and died under those very circumstances, just as the voice had described. While many were convinced of the paranormal nature of the events, others remained skeptical. Critics pointed out instances where the children, particularly Janet, were caught faking phenomena. In one instance, hidden cameras captured Janet attempting to bend spoons and bang on ceilings with a broom handle. Anita Gregory and John Beloff, also members of the SPR, visited the Hodgson home and concluded that the girls had staged the incidents for attention. Gregory described the case as overrated and suspected the involvement of a lot of tricks. Magicians and ventriloquists, including Milburn Christopher and Ray Allen, examined the case and suggested that the phenomena could be attributed to clever trickery and ventriloquism. They noted that Janet's Bill voice could have been produced by vocal manipulation. Noted American paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren, famous for their involvement in the Amityville case, visited Enfield in mid-1978. They asserted that the events were of supernatural origin and claimed to have witnessed Janet levitating. However, their involvement was brief, and some, including Grosse and Playfair, viewed their conclusions with skepticism. By the autumn of 1978, the intense activity began to wane. While minor incidents continued sporadically into 1979, the family reported that life gradually returned to normal. Janet later admitted that she and her siblings had fabricated some events, but insisted that they had only done so in a small percentage of cases, estimating about 2% of the phenomena were faked. The Enfield Poltergeist case remains one of the most famous and controversial paranormal investigations. It has inspired numerous books, documentaries, and dramatizations, most notably the 2016 film The Conjuring 2. The case continues to be a topic of debate among paranormal enthusiasts and skeptics alike. In recent years, Janet, now an adult, has maintained that while some events were exaggerated, the majority of the occurrences were genuine. She described feeling used and scrutinized during the investigations but stands by her experiences. The Enfield Poltergeist case serves as a chilling reminder of the thin veil between the known and the unknown. Whether one believes in the paranormal or attributes the events to psychological and physical explanations, the story of the Hodgson family captivates and terrifies to this day. What do you think? Were the events at 284 Green Street the work of a mischievous poltergeist, or were they the elaborate pranks of attention-seeking children? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the world's most mysterious and unexplained phenomena.